My sister-in-law wanted to use my house for her baby shower, but before the guests arrived, she told me to leave because it was only for close family members. Hello, I'm 32 years old and have been married for the last 3 years. My husband, who is 35, and I have been together for 5 years. For now, he has been living away from home for work. We are in a long-distance relationship, and he comes home every other weekend to spend time together. We have our own house that we bought a couple of months ago, just before he left. It's a really beautiful place, and it's close to my parents' house, so it's convenient for them to visit me and for me to visit them. The architecture is beautiful. It's also quite spacious, which suits me because, even though I'm the only one living in this house, I love the feeling of it. It's just a beautiful home in a very good neighborhood, and I enjoy living here. When I hosted my housewarming party, I also received many compliments about it. Of all the people who seemed to like this house, my sister-in-law, Carrie, who is 32, seemed to appreciate it the most, as she couldn't stop praising it. She and I don't have a close friendship, but I would say we have always been on good terms. So, a few weeks ago, when she asked me if she could hold her baby shower at my house, I agreed without hesitation. Although we're not close, there were a couple of reasons why I agreed. The first was that she was pregnant, and I didn't want to say no to that. I also spent a lot of time alone in my house, so I thought it would be nice to meet some new people and have a change of scenery for once. I even took a day off and everything. The reason was that she insisted on having the event at my house because she didn't want to spend an extravagant amount of money renting a venue, especially when I had such a beautiful house. Her own home was nice, but it was nowhere near as nice as the place I lived in, and it was also a bit smaller. I guess the flattery worked on me because I couldn't help but say yes, and to be honest, I had no reason to say no because she had always been kind to me. So, I agreed. Honestly, I had no idea what was to come. Even while we were planning everything, she didn't indicate anything that made me think I wasn't exactly welcome at this baby shower. I was part of the entire planning process, and she visited me almost every day for the past 2 weeks so we could sit down and discuss what we wanted to do. From the food and the menu to the decorations, I was part of every detail of the planning and was really looking forward to this event. I thought this experience would help us bond even more, but at the last minute, I was left in shock. On the day of the event, I helped the decorators set up the place an hour before the guests were supposed to arrive. About 45 minutes before the event was scheduled to start, Carrie showed up and thanked me for everything. Even then, she was acting completely normal and talking to me as if we were friends. However, just 15 minutes before the guests were supposed to arrive, according to the invitation time, she turned around and asked me where I was going to spend the next few hours. I was a little puzzled and actually thought she was joking when she asked that question. It was literally my house where she was hosting a baby shower. Obviously, I had assumed I would be there. I had even dressed accordingly and bought her a gift as well. So, I asked her if she was joking, and with a very serious face, she said no. She then told me a couple of quite valid points that hadn't occurred to me because I was too busy helping her. Carrie told me that I hadn't received an invitation and wasn't even on the guest list. Honestly, I had noticed those things. I just didn't care because I thought it was a given that I would be invited and would be part of this event since I had helped plan it, and was even letting her have it at my house without having to pay for a venue. I think anyone in my place would have assumed the same things, and she and I didn't have a particularly bad relationship either. So why would I assume I wouldn't be part of the event? I told her these same things, and she apologized for the misunderstanding but said she had assumed I was just trying to help her in a professional sense, which didn't even make sense because my profession isn't a party planner or event organizer. I'm a banker. This has nothing to do with my profession, so I don't know why she would assume that, of all things. Anyway, I was really upset, and I guess it showed on my face. So, after a while, she told me she didn't want to argue with me because this wasn't the time for petty fights, and she didn't want to get stressed because she was also pregnant. Then she told me I had to leave because this event was actually meant only for close family members and her closest circle of friends. Only a very select group of people were allowed to be present because she wanted it to be small and intimate, and unfortunately, I didn't qualify. She told me to leave before the guests arrived because she didn't want to make a scene, and this discussion was upsetting her. I was really angry, so I stormed out of the room, upset, and decided to call my husband immediately to complain about what his sister had just done. I was in the backyard at that time because I didn't know where else to go. I tried calling my husband, but he was busy with work and was in a meeting, so he couldn't pick up the phone or text me back about it. I was really upset, So I decided to do something a bit unorthodox and called her husband instead. Carrie's husband, Jim, who is 33, has been with her for the last 4 years, and they've been married for 2. I haven't interacted much with the guy, but he's generally a quiet and reserved person. After the incident happened and Carrie told me to leave my own house, I was really upset and wanted to get back at her. I decided to call him and tell him everything. He listened and didn't say anything for a while. After I finished venting, I told him that I was really sorry for telling him all this. But I was really disappointed in how I was being treated. Since I couldn't talk to her for fear of upsetting a pregnant woman, I was telling him what had happened so that maybe he would talk to her later and make her see reason. He apologized on her behalf, which calmed me down a bit. Then he told me I didn't need to leave my own house because that would be ridiculous, and that he would come over in a few minutes. All I had to do was wait until then, because he didn't want any argument to arise between us, which would blow things out of proportion. That seemed reasonable to me. I waited 15 minutes, and before the first guests arrived, Jim showed up at my house. Carrie was quite surprised to see him, and as soon as I heard the doorbell, I went inside my house. The 3 of us were in the living room, and Jim stepped in and told me that, of course, I could attend the baby shower and didn't need to leave. Carrie tried to protest, but he simply gave her a stern look, and she fell silent after that. She kept giving me angry looks the entire time we were there, and I decided in my mind that I would never interact with her again. I even thought about canceling the baby shower, but I didn't because I had put a lot of effort into planning this event, and I didn't want that to go to waste. Besides, after Jim arrived, I didn't have the heart to do it, and I didn't feel it was necessary either. So, I decided in my mind that I would just let the evening run its course, and after we finished with the baby shower, I would simply stop talking to Carrie. I maintained my grace and dignity throughout. I can't say the same for her. Anyway, after it was over, Jim once again apologized to me for everything, while Carrie refused to even look at me. She also apologized for that since she was receiving an unnecessary amount of attitude from her because she believed she didn't belong at the event and had imposed on me. It was really frustrating to witness, but at least the whole nightmare was over. After they left, I finally called my husband and told him everything in detail. He was outraged and wanted to talk to his sister, but I told him not to bother, at least not that night, because that would only make things worse and lead to more arguments. That was the last thing I wanted. I just wanted some peace, but I guess that wasn't in the cards for me, at least for now. The next morning I received a call from my in-laws, and they were really angry. They told me that after the baby shower, once Carrie and Jim got home, they had a huge fight about what I had said. Now Jim had decided to leave and refused to talk to Carrie or even anyone else in her family, including my in-laws. This was unheard of because, as far as we knew, Jim had a very good relationship with his in-laws, as they were old friends of his parents' family. But now, after the fight they had, his entire family had blocked them on social media and everywhere else, so it was very clear they didn't want to interact with them. Honestly, I didn't understand what this had to do with me, but my in-laws and Carrie apparently believed that if I had just held my tongue and decided to do what Carrie told me, they wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. I found it outrageous that they were trying to blame me for this, as it was obvious that it was Carrie's fault, and I had nothing to do with any of this. So, I ended up lashing out at them and told them I wasn't going to take this because I knew very well it wasn't my fault. It was Carrie who was ungrateful to me, because I very generously allowed her to host the baby shower in my house at no cost. But instead of respecting that and respecting the relationship we have, she decided to humiliate me by telling me that I couldn't attend an event being held in my own home and wanted me to leave because she apparently didn't think I was close enough as a family member. I also told them that if my husband had been around, she wouldn't have dared to try something like that. I didn't regret telling her husband what she had been trying to do because he was the only sensible person in the situation. If he had decided he had had enough and wanted to leave, I was sure he was making the right decision because I trusted his judgment. So I wasn't going to try to fix the situation because I didn't think I had done anything wrong. I also didn't think Jim was doing anything wrong, and if he wanted a divorce, he had my support. I wasn't going to talk to him or retract anything. If my in-laws called me to say they wanted me to talk to him and fix this, they would have to be disappointed because I wasn't going to do any of that. After saying that, I hung up. Since then, we haven't spoken, but they've been doing everything they can to try to get me to answer them. It's been 2 days, and although I haven't blocked them yet, I'm considering it because they kept telling me that whatever issue there was, It was between Carrie and me, and I had no reason to involve him in this. I don't understand where that's coming from because even if it's between Carrie and me, it was my decision to tell her husband. Since he's also part of the family, I thought he should know. I don't think I did anything wrong by exposing her because she was mistreating me and being ungrateful. I thought her husband deserved to know how she was acting, as I knew he was a rational person and would do something about it. They're doing everything they can to manipulate the facts and make me feel bad about it, but I can't help it. I don't feel bad in the slightest about what's happening to her, and they keep repeating the fact that now, because of my decision, their future child might grow up without a father figure in their life. Honestly, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, but that's how they're presenting it, and I don't even know what to say about it. The only reason I haven't blocked them yet is because of the way they're saying things, and it's making me doubt myself, even though my husband doesn't think I did anything wrong. He's told me he'll try to talk to his parents and make them understand that this wasn't my fault, it was Carrie's. If anything, they should talk to her about it and be there for her instead of trying to attack me. Right now, I have no idea how to handle the situation. I don't feel regretful, but judging by the way they're acting right now, I don't think this is going to end anytime soon, and I just want it to be over. Also, I don't even know why Carrie did what she did, so I don't have answers right now. Am I the bad person for involving my sister-in-law's husband in our argument and telling him how she was acting? Update 1. It's been almost a week since the baby shower. Carrie and Jim are still getting divorced, and now it's official. She hasn't commented publicly about it yet, but he announced it on social media, so it's big news. I didn't think it would happen so soon, but apparently, he's already filed the petition, and the proceedings will start very soon. They've been living apart since Jim moved back in with his parents, from what I know. I managed to talk to him, although I didn't think it would be appropriate after everything that had happened because I felt a bit guilty. After discussing it with my husband, he thought that at least someone in our family should reach out to him, and he and I were the only two people who hadn't been blocked. So, obviously, that meant he kept these channels open in case we wanted to talk to him. I decided to reach out and told him I was sorry for everything that was happening, but it didn't sound like an apology. It just sounded like I felt sorry in general. Despite that, I guess he could tell I felt guilty about it, and he told me I didn't have to blame or punish myself for it. He had been on edge for quite some time. After much hesitation, I texted him and asked what was going on because I felt like I deserved some answers too, and boy, did I get them. I got all the answers I had been looking for. We talked on the phone, and I told him that I wanted to know more about what was going on. I felt that I also deserved some answers because I had absolutely no idea why Carrie didn't want me to attend the baby shower. As far as I knew, she had only cited one reason for not wanting me there, which was that she only wanted close family to be present. But at the same time, she had invited many people who, to me, didn't seem particularly close to her. I had looked over the guest list and knew that a lot of people would be present. It simply didn't make sense why I wouldn't be included among them, as I had nothing against them, and as far as I knew, they had nothing against me either. Then, Jim told me that the real reason she didn't want me there was because she was expecting one of her friends to attend, whom she was desperately trying to impress. This friend of hers had married into a rather wealthy family, and now that Carrie was planning to start her own business just a couple of months after her baby was born, she wanted to convince her friend's husband to invest in her business. She was doing everything she could to impress this woman, and to do that, she had organized the baby shower at my house and planned to tell everyone it was her house. Obviously, she couldn't do that if I was around, and that's why she wanted me to leave, but I resisted, and she hadn't accounted for that. However, fortunately, her friend got sick that day and couldn't attend the event at all. This didn't excuse the fact that she had tried to be sneaky. When they got home, he confronted her about what she had told me, and she admitted that she only wanted me to stay out of the event because she wanted to impress her friend. She didn't want to acknowledge that the house didn't belong to her and acted as if all of this was totally normal, doing everything she could to pretend to have a life she didn't actually live just to impress someone she went to school with. Jim told her that it wasn't right for her to act this way and that she needed to apologize to me because I had been generous, and she had simply humiliated me. But she refused to acknowledge that what she did was wrong and fought with him. They had been having a lot of problems because of this pretentious behavior, and apparently it wasn't even the first time she had been caught trying to be someone she wasn't. From what Jim told me, they had apparently been having issues like this for the past few years. Shortly after they got married, something had affected her, and since their wedding, She started doing this thing where she tried to live beyond her means and show everyone that they were rich and living a luxurious life just to impress people who didn't matter. Apparently, some of her friends had made strange comments about the arrangements at their wedding, and I guess that really bothered her. But she's an adult woman. She shouldn't be petty. She shouldn't let trivial things like that bother her, and she should have just cut ties with those friends because they aren't true friends if they make fun of your lifestyle and what you can afford. Besides, it's not like they were living in misery, they were just living a normal life. Maybe they couldn't afford extravagant things, but still, I think they had it pretty good. Jim is a real estate agent, and Carrie currently works at a marketing company, but she plans to start her own business after the baby is born. All the more reason for her to save money instead of spending it. They're comfortable, not rich, but that's completely fine, and I don't think it's anyone else's business. And Carrie doesn't need to impress anyone. Jim had tried to explain these things to Carrie several times, but it just didn't make any difference to her, and she kept doing strange things to impress the people around her, which had been causing a lot of problems between them over the past few years. He had always let it slide because he loved her so much, but in recent months, it had become harder and harder for him to overlook things. As they also had to think about their future child now, it wouldn't be possible if she just kept spending money as if it meant nothing, especially given their financial situation. She kept buying things without even bothering to consult him, and he was fed up with it. Anyway, they had been arguing about things like this too often, and after the fight following the baby shower, Jim decided he couldn't take it anymore and decided to leave. He told me that even if I hadn't called him that day, at the rate things were going in their marriage, he might have made this decision sooner rather than later anyway, so I didn't need to feel bad about what I did. I also talked to my husband about it, and he said that while he was sorry that all of this was happening to Carrie, he couldn't say that he felt it was unjustified in any way. We didn't know Jim very well, but we knew that he had been a good husband to Carrie so far, and if he had made the decision to leave, I'm sure he would have thought it through. I also feel sorry for Carrie because I know this can't be easy to handle while she's pregnant, but honestly, she brought all of this on herself. I don't know what kind of adult woman cares about what some irrelevant, gossipy, and vain friends think about her lifestyle. She's in her 30s. I think she should leave this kind of high school stuff behind. I'll wait for them to talk to each other and work it out, but for Jim's sake, I hope they can spend some time apart and decide what they want to do about it. Anyway, I'm not going to get involved in all of this, and will do my best to stay away from these people for now, because I think they have enough on their plate as it is. I'm going to block both Carrie and my in-laws because I don't think I have anything else to say to them at this point. I hope they can work things out, and maybe the divorce will be called off. Or maybe not. I don't know what's going to happen with them because, as I mentioned earlier in this post, Jim has announced a divorce. But while we were talking, he still sounded very upset about things, and I got the feeling that maybe he wanted to work things out with her and give it a chance. But she was just being so stubborn about everything that he was finding it hard to do so. Now, this might be a controversial opinion, but I think they should at least try to work things out, and maybe she should go to therapy or something because it's not normal to act this way in your 30s, trying to impress people who don't even matter. All I know is that I would like things to work out for the sake of their child. Growing up as the child of divorced parents is never easy, and I don't think I would want that for my future niece or nephew. So for their sake, I hope things work out between the two of them. I'll keep you updated on that, but for now, I'm going to stay out of all of this and hope for the best. My husband is also going to do the same. We're going to get together this weekend because he's coming home, but this time, I don't think he's going to visit his parents. I'm just happy that I don't have anything to feel guilty about anymore. Update 2. Hi, so my husband got back a few hours ago and we've been talking. He told me that he's been in touch with Jim, and the two of them have been talking over the past few days. Jim made it clear that if Carrie apologizes for everything and agrees to go to therapy, he's willing to give their marriage a second chance. Now my husband is trying to communicate that to his sister, but so far, he hasn't gotten a response. His parents have told him that she's avoiding talking to anyone right now because she's very upset and needs time to herself. I guess everyone is giving her the space she needs right now. I don't know what decision she'll make, but I hope she makes a wise choice. Regarding the last post here, some people called me selfish because you all thought my husband and I were greedy for not helping Jim and Carrie. First of all, I don't even know how many of you came to that conclusion, but let me clarify that we got this house at a good price, which is why we were able to buy it. If it had been out of our budget, we wouldn't have bought it. Secondly, Jim and Carrie are in a perfectly stable position, and I don't think they would appreciate us treating them as if they needed our charity. Also, my husband and I are more or less on the same level as them, so I don't know why they would need our help or vice versa. That's just strange and irrelevant, but since some of you mentioned it, I felt I needed to clarify. Some of you also didn't appreciate the fact that I said I wanted the two of them to work out their issues if they got back together because you believe Jim deserves better. Well, maybe he does, but at the end of the day, it's his choice. I don't understand why so many of you want to vent here and call me all sorts of names and call Jim pathetic without even knowing the kind of person he is. They love each other despite the problems they are having right now. They are going to have a child together, and I think that's pretty important. They can't just throw each other away and move on with their lives given the circumstances. So yes, I hope and continue to hope that they can work things out. I think that's all I have to say for now. Update 3. Hi, it's been almost 3 weeks since I was last here, and I just wanted to tell you that Jim and Carrie have decided to work things out and give it a try. I'm really happy for them, even though I'm still not on good terms with Carrie. But I found out through my husband that the two of them have decided to go to couples therapy for a couple of months and see how it goes. They will continue living separately, and once the baby is born, they'll see how things are going in the first few months. If everything goes well, they will move back in together, and so be it. I'm happy for them. I know this isn't what many of you wanted, and most of you really wanted Jim to leave Carrie, but fortunately for him, he's going to do what's right for him, and everyone else will just have to deal with it. Update 4. Well, after a few months since my last post, I'm here to give it a conclusion, I guess. Jim and Carrie are getting divorced. They had been going to therapy together for a while, but it didn't work out, and they finally decided to go their separate ways. The good thing is that at least they tried, and if they found that it was better not to be together, then so be it. As I said before, it's their decision. At least they are ending the relationship on good terms, especially since the baby has now been born. So I guess they are going to be co-parents, but at least they will try to give the baby a good life.